Consider this story. A millennial reflects at 25, my goal was a six-figure salary to buy a house. My younger sister, a Gen Z, just turned 25. She quit her high-paying tech job to work for a nonprofit because she wants to, quote, create a positive impact. Is the very definition of success undergoing a generational earthquake? Are today's young professionals truly prioritizing purpose over the paycheck and the promotion? This isn't just a matter of personal preference. It's a seismic shift reshaping the entire landscape of work. And companies that fail to understand this fundamental change in values risk losing their most brilliant minds. Today, we're doing a deep dive to decode the big question: is purpose over paycheck the new reality or just a fleeting trend for the privileged? And what does it mean for the future of your career, your company, and our society? Let's explore the complete picture to gain a deeper understanding and perhaps find some practical answers. Hit subscribe on GENSHIFT to join us for this critical analysis. 1. The new success equation: is purpose really winning? For decades, the blueprint for a successful career was straightforward: climb the corporate ladder. Success was measured in salary bumps, bigger titles, and the accumulation of assets. But the foundation of that ladder has grown unstable and the metrics are being rewritten. The question is, are we witnessing a revolution in values or just a minor adjustment? The data suggests it's more than just a tremor. The latest 2025 global survey from Deloitte reveals a stunning consensus. Roughly 9 in 10 Gen Zs, 89%, and millennials, 92%, say a sense of purpose is important for their job satisfaction. This isn't a soft preference, it's a core demand. The sentiment is so strong that a 2023 Pew study cited by Forbes found 70% of Gen Z would accept lower pay to work for a company that aligns with their personal ethics, compared to 58% of millennials. But purpose itself is a slippery concept. For some, it's about societal impact. For others, it's simply earning enough to fund their passions outside the 9 to 5. This brings us to the most critical and often misunderstood part of the new success equation. The narrative isn't truly purpose over paycheck, it's purpose enabled by a sufficient paycheck. The same Deloitte survey that highlights the importance of meaning also reveals a stark reality: financial insecurity is rising. Nearly half of both generations report living paycheck to paycheck. The research is explicit: without a foundation of financial security, workers are significantly less likely to feel their work is meaningful or to have positive mental well-being. The pursuit of purpose, therefore, isn't a rejection of money. It's a demand for a career that provides both financial stability and a reason to care. 2. Gen Z, the idealistic pragmatists. To understand this new dynamic, we have to look at the generation that embodies it most completely: Gen Z. They are not just a younger version of millennials. They are a cohort shaped by a radically different world. Raised in an era of hyper-awareness, they are digital natives who grew up with a front-row seat to global climate crises, social justice reckonings, and profound political polarization. This constant exposure has hardwired a sense of social consciousness into their expectations. They don't just hope companies do good, they demand it. Simultaneously, social media has shattered the traditional career monolith. They see travel bloggers, freelance artists, and community-focused startup founders presenting viable alternative paths to success. This has fueled an anti-hustle ethos, a direct rebellion against the millennial glorification of overwork. Trends like quiet quitting or the lazy girl job aren't about laziness. They're a pragmatic strategy to secure a paycheck without sacrificing mental health or personal identity. This creates the defining paradox of Gen Z. They are both idealistic and intensely pragmatic. They operate on an unspoken value-for-value contract with employers. They will provide their skills and energy, but in return, they expect a holistic package: fair pay, flexibility, well-being, support, skill development, and ethical alignment. If any part of that deal is broken, the contract is void. They will leave not out of disloyalty, but because the terms of the agreement were violated. Of course, it's crucial to acknowledge that the freedom to prioritize purpose is often a privilege. For many young people facing economic hardship, a stable paycheck isn't just the foundation, it's the entire building. Yet even then, they are less likely to tolerate a meaningless or toxic job indefinitely. What do you think about this trend? Do you see yourself or your friends searching for purpose in your work? Share your thoughts in the comments below. We want to hear your real-world experiences. 3. Millennials, the post-burnout generation. If Gen Z is redefining the rules from the start, millennials are the generation desperately trying to reframe them after playing a game that left them exhausted. To understand their current search for meaning, we have to rewind to the 2010s, entering the workforce in the shadow of the 2008 financial crisis and burdened by student debt. Many millennials embraced hustle culture as a survival mechanism. Rise and grind became a mantra glorified on social media, where overwork was performative and burnout was a badge of honor. They were promised that if they sacrificed enough, they would achieve the stability their parents had. That promise was broken. The pandemic wasn't the cause of their burnout, it was the breaking point. Forced into remote work, the already blurred lines between work and life evaporated completely. The result was a collective reckoning. A landmark Harvard Business Review study from 2022 found that while the pandemic caused many to reflect on their purpose, millennials were 3 times more likely than any other group to be actively reevaluating their work. This great reevaluation fueled the Great Resignation, where mid-career employees, mostly millennials aged 30 to 45, left their jobs in record numbers. Their search for purpose, therefore, is not an innate desire, but a corrective action. It's a direct response to the trauma of a decade spent hustling for a prize that never materialized. For them, purpose is often defined by what was lost time with family, mental well-being, and a sense of self outside of their job title. They are the post-burnout generation seeking a cure. 4. 2 generations, 2 timelines for meaning. This difference in experience creates 2 very distinct timelines for pursuing a purpose-driven career. The stories we see paint a clear picture. For Gen Z, the decision is often front-loaded and audacious. Think of the 25-year-old investment banker who, after just a few years, cashes out her signing bonus to start a sustainable farm stay. Or the software engineer who turns down a lucrative offer from a tech giant to join a small, mission-driven startup because its culture values transparency and social impact. What drives these bold, early career pivots? It's a combination of seeing alternative paths as viable from day one and a deep-seated skepticism of the traditional corporate promise. They would rather take a calculated risk on their own values now than invest a decade in a system they don't trust. They want to integrate meaning into their career from the very beginning. For many millennials, the journey to meaning comes later after a foundation has been built. It's the story of the marketing director who, approaching 40 and having achieved financial stability, quits her corporate job to open a bakery, not because she has to, but because she finally can. It's the lawyer who, after years of grinding it out to pay off loans and buy a home, transitions to a role in a legal aid clinic. Their path is often a 2-step process. First, secure the paycheck. Second, find the purpose. This isn't a failure of nerve, but a logical outcome of their generational experience. They had to survive the hustle first before they could afford to question it. Gen Z wants meaning integrated from the start. Millennials are often seeking to reclaim it after the fact. 5. The purpose tightrope, balancing passion and practicality. This generational push for meaning is forcing a corporate evolution, but walking the purpose tightrope is fraught with peril for both individuals and companies. The upsides are clear and powerful. For individuals, aligning work with personal values leads to higher job satisfaction, better mental health, and a greater sense of fulfillment. For businesses, a purpose-driven culture is a magnet for talent. It boosts employee engagement, which Gallup finds can increase productivity and profitability. It strengthens brand reputation and fosters loyalty, significantly reducing costly turnover. Companies like Patagonia have built empires on this foundation. However, the challenges are just as real. For the individual, chasing a dream can lead to financial precarity. The follow your passion narrative can feel hollow when you can't pay rent. It can lead to disillusionment when a purpose-driven job turns out to be just as stressful as a corporate one, but with half the pay. For businesses, there's the risk of mission drift, where the focus on a lofty purpose distracts from the operational discipline needed to stay profitable. The greatest danger, however, is purpose washing, using the language of meaning and impact as a smokescreen to justify low pay or poor working conditions. Younger generations are highly attuned to this kind of inauthenticity, and it will backfire, destroying trust and branding the company as exploitative. The essential question becomes, how do we create a system where purpose and paycheck are not mutually exclusive? 6. The future and economy of agency. So where do we go from here? The future of work isn't a simple return to old models or a complete surrender to idealism. It's about a convergence of values and a redefinition of the employer-employee contract. We're seeing the emergence of Zennials, a micro-generation on the cusp of both cohorts who blend millennial optimism with Gen Z pragmatism, acting as a bridge between these worldviews. Forward-thinking companies understand that attracting and retaining this new workforce requires more than a mission statement. It requires authentic corporate social responsibility, CSR, and diversity, equity, and inclusion DEI initiatives that are woven into the fabric of the business, not just bolted on as an afterthought. But the most revolutionary strategy goes a step further. It shifts from demanding alignment to granting agency. Consider Google's famous 20% time policy, which allowed employees to work on their own passion projects. This single policy gave birth to world-changing products like Gmail and Google News. It's the ultimate retention tool because it satisfies the entire modern success trifecta: a stable paycheck, the freedom to pursue meaningful work, and the autonomy that enhances well-being. The future belongs to companies that don't just offer a job, but provide a platform. They will function like internal venture capitalists, empowering their best talent to build, create, and solve problems, transforming the workplace into an engine of purpose driven from the bottom up. Society and our education systems must also adapt, teaching financial literacy alongside social ethics and celebrating the many different paths to a successful life. Perhaps the conversation was never truly purpose over paycheck. It's purpose and paycheck, with the emphasis forever shifted. Younger generations are not asking to sacrifice one for the other, as was often the implicit demand in the past. They are seeking a new, more integrated, and more human definition of success. The most difficult question is whether our current economy can allow everyone to achieve it. The ultimate goal must be to build a system where purpose-driven work is also financially sustainable work, a responsibility that falls on corporations, governments, and society as a whole. To build a world where success is measured not just by the balance in our bank account, but by the value of our contribution. What does success mean to you? Would you take a lower-paying job for more passion or meaning, or do you think the idea of purpose is overblown? Share your perspective. There are no right or wrong answers in this conversation, and every viewpoint is needed. And be sure to subscribe to GenShift to join us on this journey to redefine success and happiness at work, creating a future where everyone can find their purpose.